We're gonna make fun of these dumbass reporters asking the press secretary questions.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
Literally all of them, because they're here illegally. Therefore, that's a crime. They're all criminals. But okay.
Of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way.
That's
There's
such a
big
stupid
culture
ass
shift
question.
in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point of going with the worst first. They all have a criminal record.
And welcome to the
Yes.
If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yeah, Peter.
Carolyn, if I can ask you very quickly, just following up on the question on immigration first. President Trump, during the course of the campaign in 2024, said the following about illegal immigration. He said, they're going back home where they belong, and we start with the criminals. There are many, many criminals. NBC News has learned that ICE arrested 1,179 undocumented immigrants on Sunday, but nearly half
That language for undocumented immigrants. They're illegal immigrants. They're all criminals.
of them, 566 of the migrants,
They like to use this language to take away from the fact that they are committing a crime just by being here. It's like they're using some sort of a emotional manipulation on the public by using undocumented immigrants.
appear to have no prior
Call it what
criminal
it is.
record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal.
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking though, he said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people?
From my understanding, they're going after the violent offenders first, but if somebody there is an illegal immigrant that's not a violent offender, they're going to get picked up too. So it's like they're not going to stand by and watch an illegal immigrant without detaining him and sending him back. It's just easier that way.
People to be deported.
The president has
They're
said
all getting
countless
deported.
times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals.
This is what we
and
voted
if you
for.
are an individual, a
I didn't
foreign
vote, but
national,
well,
who
people voted for
illegally
it.
enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are
It's not
subject to
exclusively-
deportation.
I apologize for interrupting. So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking
The
They
place.
president
have.
has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country.
Look at how they've done the arrests. Obviously, they are targeting the violent criminals first. The people that were already in jail got released from jail due to sanctuary city laws, which is fucking retarded.
But the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the
And the way I see it, if a mayor or governor is also protecting these illegal immigrants, they should be arrested too.
interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
Understood. Then let me ask you a separate question about the confusion that still exists across the country right now as it relates to the freeze or the pause as it's described. President Trump, of course, ran one of the key policy items was that he was going to lower prices, lower the cost of everything from groceries, as he often said. But in many of the cases, it would seem that some of these moves could raise prices for real Americans on everything from low-income heating, that program, child care programs. Will nothing that the president's doing here in terms of the freeze in these programs raise prices on ordinary Americans?
What particular actions
What?
are you referring to that
I'm
would...
referring to LHEAP right now. That's the low-income heating program, for example. We can talk about, there's no clarity, so I could refer to a lot of them. We don't know what they are specifically. Can you tell us that LHEAP, the LIHEAP, is not one of those
The fuck is
affected?
that?
So you're asking a hypothetical based on programs that you can't even identify.
I just
What I
identified.
can tell
Well,
you
just to
is
be
that
clear,
the
since
Dude,
you guys
she's
haven't
good.
identified, let's do it together just for Americans at home. Medicaid, is that affected?
I gave you a list of
already
examples:
said that's
Social
not gonna be
Security,
affected.
Medicare, welfare benefits,
Medicaid's
food
okay.
stamps that will not be impacted by this federal pause. I can get you the full list after this briefing from the Office of Management and Budget. But
Like, do your homework before you go in there and ask the same question over and over again. This is why you don't have any, like, credibility anymore. You're always trying to get them to do something or stumble on something that they've already said 1,000 times. It's pathetic.
I do want to address the cost cutting. because that's certainly very important, and cutting the cost of living in this country. President Trump has taken historic action over the past week to do that. He actually signed a memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for American families, which took a number of actions. I can walk you through those. He also repealed many onerous Biden administration regulations. We know over the past 4 years, American households has been essentially taxed $55,000 in regulations from the previous administration. President Trump, with the swipe of his pen, rescinded those, which will ultimately put more money back in the pockets of the American people. So deregulation is a big deal. And then when it comes to energy, I mean, the president signed an executive order to declare a national energy emergency here at home, which is going to make America energy dominant. We know that
Energy is huge because everything gets transported by big trucks. And if they can get fuel cheaper, then everything should just end up being cheaper. Shipping costs and everything is a big deal. I don't think a lot of people understand that, or they're just intentionally ignoring that. But I think we will start seeing changes like this summer, probably.
energy is one of the #1 drivers of inflation. And so that's why the president wants to increase our energy supply to bring down costs for Americans. The Trump energy boom is incoming, and Americans can expect that.
Please share that out. Thank you.
Caroline, I think some of the confusion I think may be here with this pause on federal funding. You've made it clear you're not stopping funds that go directly to individuals, but there certainly are lots of organizations that receive funding and then may pass along a benefit. Meals on Wheels, for one. They provide meals for over 2.2 million seniors. What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, who are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now been asked and answered this question 4 times. To individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government, you will not be impacted by this federal freeze. In fact, OMB just sent out a memo to Capitol Hill with Q&A to clarify some of.
I like how she gets a bunch of attitude and gives it right back to the reporter each time. I think it's a real nice change compared to the last one.
The questions and the answers that all of you are asking me right now. Again, direct assistance will not be impacted. I've been asked and answered about this OMB memo. There's many other topics of the day. Jackie
But
Heimer.
indirect assistance, Caroline, if it's going to another organization and then trickling down.
Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted. Again, as I said to Peter, we will continue to provide that list as it comes to fruition. But OMB right now is focused on analyzing the federal government's spending, which is exactly what the American people elected President Trump to do.
And one question on immigration, Caroline, on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those?
Every single one of them. I don't know why it's so hard to understand that if you do something illegal, you're a criminal. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration
That's a
goes. I know the
stupid-ass
last
question.
administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
You made a point that the worst first. They all have a criminal record?
And welcome to the briefing.
If they
Yes.
broke our nation's laws, yes, they are criminal. Yes.
Thank you. On stripping security details for figures like John Bolton, Pompeo, Brian Hook, Senator Tom Cotton said that he's seen the intelligence and the threat from Iran is real for anyone who played a role in the Soleimani strike. He voiced concern it wouldn't just impact those individuals, but potentially their family, innocent bystanders, friends, anyone who's near them when they're out in public. Is the president open to reconsidering his decision?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday, and he was firm in his decision
I don't know what
despite
the
some
hell
of the
they're talking
comments that
about.
you had referenced. And he's made it very clear that he does not believe American taxpayers should fund security details for individuals who have served in the government for the rest of their lives.
I
And there's
agree.
nothing stopping these individuals that you mentioned from obtaining private security. That's where the president stands.
Yeah, they
on
have
it. I
enough
no
money.
updates on that.
Is there any
That's
concern
stupid.
that this decision might jeopardize the administration's ability to hire the best advisors for these kinds of positions in the future?
No, in fact, I've talked to the Presidential Personnel Office, who has told me directly that there is such an influx of resumes for this administration that it's incredibly overwhelming. There is no lack of talent for the Trump administration.
One, on the freeze in federal funding, who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And all that happened on Friday night. The administration fired several.
It's very evident they're just going to fight Trump on literally every decision the whole presidency. But they're not having any luck, thankfully. I just don't understand why they get so mad about the cuts to shit that doesn't even matter. It doesn't make sense to me.
Several inspectors general without giving Congress
Unless it's
a
obvious
30-day
corruption.
legally required notification that they were being fired. I
Somebody's
think only
getting
two
paid.
were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a
Makes
case
sense.
that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting
So
on.
you're confident that if they
She
bring
gives good
lawsuits
answers,
against
honestly.
the prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court,
And
yes.
did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House. So
it did
yes,
come from them.
yes. it came from this
Caroline?
Sure.
I don't understand the point of these press conferences is if everyone's going to ask like the same questions every single time. We're not learning anything more from these people.
Thank you. Congrats on your first day behind the podium.
Thank you.
President Trump ended funding for UNRWA and also designated the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
Good.
Both were decisions that the previous administration had reversed. So here's my question. Will there be an investigation into who gave the previous administration this terrible advice?
That's a good ass question. I like this guy because it's bullshit. Nobody should have been taken off a terrorist list, especially the Taliban and everyone else that Joe Biden was like taking off the terrorist list. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's a very good point. I haven't heard discussions about such an investigation, but it wouldn't be a bad idea considering that the Houthis certainly are terrorists.
Absolutely.
They have launched attacks on U.S. naval ships across this world, and so I think it was a very wise move by this administration to redesignate them as a terrorist group because they are, and I think it was a foolish decision by the previous administration to do so. As for an investigation, I'm not sure about that, but it's not a bad idea.
I just don't see why they keep asking dumbass questions. Like, what's the point of asking the same one over and over again? We're not going to, they're not going to stumble on anything. It's been stated a million times. I don't know what they think they're going to gain from that.